When we look at life, we often find ourselves caught in moments that feel endless. A struggle that seems to stretch on forever. A pain that refuses to ease. A burden that weighs so heavily on the heart that we begin to wonder if there will ever be a dawn after such a long, dark night. Speaking about. But the truth that brings peace to every aching soul is that every storm we face has already been measured and timed by the one who created us. Every difficulty, every heartbreak, every loss. It is not without purpose, and more importantly, it is not without an end. Allah, in His speaking about, in His infinite mercy, does not send down a storm without having written the moment it will pass. He should be speaking about, He does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. He knows the silent tears that fall in the darkness of the night. He speaking about hears the whispers of your heart when you find it hard to speak. He sees you trying your best even when everything seems to be crumbling around you. And He, the most merciful, the most wise, has already determined the exact moment your relief will come. He has placed a divine expiry date on your hardship, even if you cannot see it right now. The problem is not that the storm is lasting too long. The problem is our limited perspective. As human beings, we are often so focused on the storm itself that we forget the one who sends the rain also sends the rainbow. We cry over the waves, not realizing that the one who controls the ocean never lets the ship sink unless it is part of His greater plan. We're speaking about when you're going through a storm, it feels like it will never end. But have you ever seen a storm that lasted forever? Even the worst hurricanes lose their strength. Even the darkest clouds eventually move on. And so too will your pain. In the Quran, we find countless examples of storms, literal and metaphorical. We speaking about the story of Naww off, and the flood reminds us that even the most terrifying storm had a conclusion. The rain eventually stopped. The skies cleared. The earth soaked up the floodwaters. And the believers were saved. This was not just a story for us to narrate to our children. It is a divine reminder that even the strongest test comes with a finish line. Speaking about, even when the storm seems like it will destroy everything, Allah's mercy surrounds the believer and protects him through it all. Be speaking about, have you ever watched how the sky behaves before a storm passes? The wind slows down, the clouds begin to break apart, and suddenly there's a glow in the distance, the beginning of light, the hint of peace. That is exactly how life works for the believer. Allah never tests you indefinitely. He allows the storm to shake you, to wake you, to purify you, but never to drown you. That the storm is temporary. What remains permanent is the mercy of Allah, the control of Allah, the plan of Allah. When you grasp this reality, even the harshest winds cannot throw you off course. So many people, when they are in the middle of their struggles, begin to feel abandoned. They begin to question. They wonder why things aren't changing. They compare their lives to others who seem to be enjoying calm while they are battling chaos. But remember, you're speaking about your story is being written by the best of writers. Your storm is not a sign of punishment. It is not a reflection of your worth. It is not because you are forgotten. On the contrary, it is because you are remembered. You are being reshaped. You are being redirected. You are being brought closer to your Lord. There are times when the only way to bring us back to Allah is through the storm. In comfort, we may forget. In ease, we may slip. But when the winds howl and the skies darken, we instinctively turn our hearts upward. We begin to speak to the one who never turns away. That in itself is a mercy. That in itself is a blessing. Allah knows that through the storm, you are remembering Him more. You are praying more. You are crying to Him more sincerely. And those moments of connection are far more precious than any worldly comfort. If you could see what Allah sees, you would never wish for the storm to be removed before its time. You see, the storm doesn't just end, it transforms you. You come out of it different, stronger, wiser, closer to your Lord. And that is one of the most beautiful things about difficulty. It doesn't just pass, it changes you. It strips you of false attachments. It should be speaking about. It reminds you of what truly matters. It reveals the reality of this dunya and awakens your heart to the next life. It shows you that you are never truly in control, and yet you are never alone. Allah is always with you, watching over you, guiding you, speaking about, and holding your heart through it all. The Prophet N went through storms far more difficult than anything we experience. He buried loved ones. He was rejected by his people. He faced hunger, fear, and intense grief. Yet he never lost hope. He never doubted that Allah was in control. He taught us through his life that pain is not a sign of abandonment, but a part of the divine journey. And just as his storms ended, so will yours. Just as he was raised in rank through his struggles, so too can you be elevated through yours. It is in these moments of hardship that your faith is tested. It is easy to believe in good times. It is easy to trust when life is going your way. But real faith is forged in the fire. A real trust is shown when nothing makes sense, yet you continue to believe. That is the faith that Allah loves. That is the faith that earns you closeness to Him. That is the faith that brings peace. Be speaking about, even when the waves are high and the winds are strong, because you know that no matter how bad it gets, Allah has already written your relief. He has already promised you that with hardship comes ease. Not after it, with it. The ease is already being prepared. The light is already on its way. The dawn is already approaching. What matters now is your response. Will you complain or will you submit? Will you panic or will you pray? Will you focus on the storm or will you fix your gaze on the one who controls the skies? These questions shape your experience. They define your journey. They determine whether you emerge from this storm defeated or transformed. And Allah in His mercy gives you chance after chance to turn to Him, to seek Him, to rely on Him fully. Be speaking about. That is the beauty of belief. It allows you to carry hope even when everything around you is falling apart. Be speaking about. It enables you to stand firm even when the ground beneath you is shaking. It teaches you that storms are not the end of your story. They are speaking about. They are simply the chapter before the breakthrough. There are moments in life when you look around and everything feels like it's falling apart. You try to understand what's happening, but it all feels like chaos. Disappointments piling up, relationships crumbling, health fading, provision tightening, and your heart begins to panic. The mind becomes clouded with questions. Why is this happening? Where is the way out? Who will help me? And in those exact moments when the world seems to be spinning out of control, your soul needs to return to the only truth that brings tranquility. Allah is always in control. Always. Even in what appears to be the worst mess, the most confusing scenario, the most unexpected pain, there is a divine hand holding every thread in place. When you believe that Allah is in control, your heart no longer sinks under the weight of uncertainty. Because you know, with complete conviction, that no leaf falls except that He has permitted it. No tear drops except that He has allowed it. No door closes except that He has something better beyond it. This belief isn't just an idea. It's a way of living. It changes how you respond to hardship. It transforms the anxiety of the unknown into the peace of surrender. It teaches your heart to rest even when the storm rages, because your Lord is not absent. He is managing every detail with wisdom beyond your understanding. Sometimes Allah's plan is hidden, but it is never absent. You might not understand it now, But that does not mean there is no plan. He is Al-Hakim, the all-wise, and nothing he does is random. Every delay is deliberate. Every change is calculated. Every detour is divinely orchestrated. When you were hoping for something to work out and it fell apart, it didn't happen because you failed. It happened because Allah saw what you couldn't see. He saw the harm hidden behind your desire. He saw the heartbreak waiting at the end of that path. He saw the better road ahead. And out of His mercy, He redirected you. But in the moment, it feels difficult. When your plans collapse, when your efforts seem to bear no fruit, when your doers appear unanswered, the heart begins to question. But that's where trust is tested. That's where faith is built. That's where you either lean into His decree or you lean into despair. And the believer chooses trust, not because everything makes sense, but because everything belongs to Allah. He is the master of the heavens and the earth. He is the one who created you, sustains you, and decides what is best for you. And He never loses control, not for a second, not for a heartbeat, not even in your lowest moment. Look back at your life. How many times did you think things wouldn't improve, and yet they did? How many times did you break? And yet you healed. How many nights did you cry, and yet you found peace again? That is not because life got better on its own. That is because Allah intervened, quietly, perfectly, mercifully. He took you from darkness to light, from fear to faith, from confusion to clarity. And if He did it before, He can do it again. He is not limited by time. He is not restricted by circumstances. He is not bound by logic. He simply says, be, and it is. So when the world tells you that everything is out of control, your heart should say, no, my Rabb is still in control. When fear whispers that things are getting worse, your soul should respond with confidence in Allah's decree. When everyone else loses hope, the believer remains firm because he knows that his affairs are in the hands of the one who never makes mistakes. The stock market may crash. People may abandon you. Doctors may give up, but Allah never miscalculates. He never overlooks. He never forgets. He knows every heartbeat inside your chest, every need you've buried deep within, every dua you made silently beneath your breath. And He is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot even imagine. Sometimes Allah allows chaos to enter your life just to remind you that you are not the one in control. Because we, as humans, often get lost in our illusion of power. We think we can plan everything, predict everything, manage everything. But then Allah shakes the ground beneath our feet, not to destroy us, but to awaken us, to make us return to Him, to make us realize that true peace only comes when you stop trying to control everything and start relying on the one who already controls everything. That surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate strength. It means you have handed your heart over to the most capable hands. And sometimes the things you call chaos are actually hidden blessings. That job you didn't get. Maybe Allah saved you from a toxic environment. That person who walked away. Maybe Allah knew they were not sincere. Speaking about that door that shut in your face. Maybe it wasn't your door to begin with. But the only way to see this beauty is through the lens of trust. Speaking about, through the certainty that your Lord is managing your affairs with more care and love than you can ever comprehend. He is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He is not neglecting you. He is nurturing you. Every delay has a purpose. Every loss carries wisdom. Every struggle comes with hidden gifts. Even the Prophet N, the most beloved to Allah, faced moments where life seemed difficult to understand. He was driven out of his home. He was mocked. He buried his own children. He faced hunger, betrayal, but never once did he doubt that Allah was in control. He lived with full trust in his Lord that we're speaking about, even when he was being chased by enemies, even when he had nothing but dust in his hands, even when the cave of Thor became his hiding place. He didn't see it as abandonment. He saw it as a part of the plan. And that is what we must learn from his life, that no matter how difficult things get, Allah's plan is never paused. His wisdom is never flawed. His mercy is never far. You see, control is something we all crave. We want to know what's next that we're speaking about. We want everything to go according to our expectations. But life doesn't work like that. Speaking about. And the more we try to control things that are not meant to be in our hands, the more we suffer. That's why Islam teaches us to let go. Not out of despair, but out of faith. When you let go of the illusion of control, speaking about, you are not giving up. You are finally stepping into the reality of tawakkul, trusting that the one who brought you this far will never abandon you now. That even if you don't know the way, he will guide you. Even if you feel lost, he sees exactly where you are. And even if the world misunderstands you, he knows the truth of your heart. The beauty of belief is that it teaches you to find calm in the chaos, to find meaning in the madness, to find serenity in surrender. And that's what makes the believer different. While others panic, the believer prays. While others fear the future, the believer remembers who holds it. While others collapse under pressure, the believer stands firm, not because he is strong, speaking about, but because his Lord is the source of strength. This is not blind optimism. This is conviction rooted in divine truth. Be speaking about. This is what happens when you live with the awareness that Allah is always watching, always planning, always in control. Even when nothing else makes sense, one of the greatest misconceptions people carry in their hearts is the idea that if life is hard, it means they have been abandoned by their Creator. That if they are struggling, they must have done something wrong. That if they are suffering, they are somehow cursed or unloved. But the reality is completely different. In fact, the trials that come into your life are not signs of rejection. They are signs of selection, speaking about. They are signs that Allah loves you enough to refine you, to purify you, to bring you closer to Him, and to elevate your status in both this world and the next. If comfort alone was a sign of being favored by Allah, then the tyrants of the world would be the most beloved to Him. But look around you, those who are drowning in worldly luxury and power, yet disbelieve in Allah, they are not being honored, being delayed. They are being given respite, not because they are favored, but because this world is the only reward they will ever see. Their comfort is temporary. Their ease is a deception. On the other hand, those who believe and go through hardship with patience are being raised in ways the world cannot see. When you are tested, it means Allah wants good for you. That is not a guess. It is a promise. The Prophet once said, when Allah loves a servant, He tests him. Why? Because tests remove the impurities from your heart. They force you to remember what you had forgotten. They soften your soil and humble your spirit. They disconnect you from the illusion of self-sufficiency and bring you back to complete reliance on Allah. And this is the most beautiful place to be, close to the one who created you, who loves you more than anyone else can, and who wants to see you succeed eternally, not just temporarily. When Allah wants to elevate someone, He does not always give them more. Sometimes He takes things away. He does not always make their path smooth. Sometimes He places thorns to slow them down. He does not always answer immediately. Sometimes He delays to develop their resilience. And all of it is for their benefit. Because He sees the final picture. He knows what will strengthen your heart and what will cleanse your soul. He is not testing you to break you. He is testing you to build you, to awaken parts of you that you never knew existed. Speaking about, to prepare you for blessings you are not yet carry. To think of the story of Yusuf WWW1, a prophet, a chosen and beloved by Allah, yet thrown into a well by his own brothers, sold into slavery, wrongly accused, imprisoned for years. If anyone had reason to feel abandoned, it would be him. But every single trial he faced was a step in his elevation. Every difficulty was a doorway to something greater. And at the right moment, after years of silence, Allah lifted him to a position of power, dignity, and honor. The journey was long. It was painful. But it was not meaningless. It was filled with wisdom because Allah was crafting his future with precision. And the same applies to you. Your trial might not make sense now. You might be asking why you lost that opportunity, why your loved one passed away, why your health declined, why your dreams were delayed. But what if every one of those difficulties is part of your elevation? What if the pain you are experiencing is actually polishing your soul? What if the burden you are carrying is building your strength for something greater ahead? Allah does not test you for no reason. He chooses the most beloved of his servants to go through the greatest trials, not to punish them, but to purify them and raise them to levels they could not have reached through worship alone. Sometimes, the tears you cry in sajud are more powerful than 1,000 words. Sometimes your heartbreak is the key to your nearness to Allah speaking about. Sometimes your loneliness is the door through which you discover true tawakkul. These are not coincidences. They are carefully measured gifts, wrapped in pain, but sent with love. Because when your soul connects with your Creator through the fire of trial, that connection becomes unbreakable. That love becomes deep. That faith becomes firm. And that is what makes you a person of strength in this world and of reward in the hereafter. Allah says in the Quran, do the people think they will be left to say, we believe without being tested? This ayah is a divine reminder that trials are part of the process. They are not the exception, they are the rule. You will not find a single prophet who lived without tests. You will not find a single righteous person who was not tested in some way. Why? Because trials are the training ground for the soul. They are the classroom where patience is learned, where sincerity is tested, where true faith is born, speaking about. And when you emerge from those trials with your belief intact, your rank with Allah is multiplied. Sometimes the world cannot see your elevation. People around you may see only your losses, your struggles, your setbacks. But Allah sees your tears, your effort, your silence does. He sees how you held yourself back from sin, even when it was easy. Be speaking about how you kept your faith alive even when you felt empty, how you chose to smile even when you were hurting. And for all of this, He raises you silently, beautifully, and eternally. The world may not recognize your strength, but Allah honors it in ways that no eye can witness and no heart can fully comprehend. And in your trial, there is a hidden gifting, a chance to reconnect with your purpose. Sometimes we forget why we are here. We get caught up in the race of this world, but pain brings perspective. It reminds you that this life is not forever, that success is not in wealth or fame, but in nearness to the one who created you. That true peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of Allah. When you realize this, even your most difficult days become meaningful. Even your heaviest burdens become sacred because they are guiding you back to the source of light. So the next time you face a storm, don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what does Allah want me to learn? Ask, how can I grow from this? Ask, what part of my heart needs to be healed through this test. Because the moment you shift your mindset, your entire experience changes. You begin to see pain not as punishment, but as purification. You begin to see delay not as denial, but as preparation. You begin to see hardship not as a sign of weakness, but as a pathway to strength. And in that realization, you find peace even in the storm. The believer who understands that trials are a sign of divine love walks through them with patience, speaking about, with trust and with hope, not because the trial is easy, but because the destination is worth it. Because the fire he knows that he walks today is forging the faith that will carry him tomorrow out. And because he knows that the one who is testing him is the most merciful, the most loving, the most just. And he never allows a tear to fall except that he counts it. He never allows a heart to break except that he mends it in better ways. He never allows a soul to struggle except that he promises it elevation and reward beyond imagination. Patience is a word we hear often. It is praised in our faith, encouraged in our hearts, and spoken about frequently. But what does it really mean? What is the true nature of patience, especially when the heart is heavy and the soul is weary? Patience is not simply the act of waiting. It is not passive. It is not a dull, empty silence while time passes by. True patience is an active, conscious submission to the will of Allah while fully trusting that the outcome, no matter how delayed or difficult, is in the hands of the most merciful. When a person is going through hardship, it is very easy to become consumed by the pain. It is easy to complain, to grow anxious, to look around for anyone or anything to fix the situation. But true patience teaches us that relief does not come from people. It does not come from status or wealth. It does not come from medicine alone. It comes from Allah and Allah alone. He is Ash-Shafi, the one who cures. He is Ar-Razak, the one who provides. He is Al-Fatah, the one who opens doors. Until the believer recognizes this truth deep in his soul, he will always feel unsettled. True patience is when the heart says, "My Lord is enough for me," even when nothing around you makes sense. There is a level of serenity that comes with this kind of patience. It is not the absence of hardship. It is the presence of trust. It is that quiet strength you see in a person who, despite their pain, continues to pray, who, despite their loss, continues to smile at others, who, despite their unanswered du'as, continues to raise their hands, be speaking about. This is the kind of patience that the prophets showed. This is the kind of patience that brings immense reward. Not because the person is not suffering, but because the person knows who to turn to in their suffering. Look at the story of Ayyub WWF, a prophet of Allah known for his devotion, his gratitude, and his kindness. Yet he was tested with the loss of his wealth, his family, his health. And all of this happened not because he did anything wrong, but because Allah was elevating him. For years he suffered, but not once did he utter a word of anger. Not once did he complain to people, speaking about. He turned only to Allah. And when he finally asked for relief, he did so with humility and hope, acknowledging Allah's mercy even before the relief came. That is true patience. Speaking about, that is what it means to know that relief comes from Allah alone. Often when people are tested, they look for shortcuts. They chase solutions in all directions, forgetting the one who controls all outcomes. But the believer understands that while effort is necessary, reliance must be solely on Allah. You go to the doctor, but healing comes from Allah. You work hard, but provision comes from Allah. You seek help, but success comes from Allah. When you internalize this reality, you begin to see patience not as something forced, but as something beautiful. You begin to find comfort in the wait, knowing that Allah's timing is perfect. That He knows when to give, and when to withhold. Speaking about that, he does not delay out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. And sometimes that wait is the test. Sometimes the silence from the heavens is the very thing that purifies your soul. Because in that silence, your heart turns back to Allah more sincerely than ever before. Your does become more heartfelt. Your dependence becomes more real. And your love for the Creator begins to outweigh your love for the creation. That is when your patience becomes an act of worship. That is when it becomes a source of elevation. Not just because you are enduring hardship, but because you are enduring it with the awareness that only Allah can bring you through it. There are people who appear strong on the outside, but are broken within. They hide their pain, but they are full of fear. Then there are those who might seem fragile, but inside they are anchored by their trust in Allah. That anchor is built through patience. In through those quiet moments of reflection, through those nights of crying out to Allah, through the choice to stay firm in faith when everything is telling you to give up. That is the strength that patience builds. It is not loud, it is not boastful, but it is powerful in the sight of Allah. The Quran reminds us again and again to be patient, not because it's easy, but because it is beloved to Allah. He says, indeed, Allah is with the patient. Think about the weight of that promise. Not that you will be alone and rewarded later, speaking about, but that He is with you during your trial, with His mercy, with His protection, with His divine care. That presence is more powerful than any solution you could imagine. It means your pain is seen. Your struggle is honored. Your silent perseverance is known. And the one who sees it is the one who will compensate it in ways far beyond your imagination. Sometimes people think patience means you cannot feel sad, that you have to smile through your pain and act like everything is fine. But patience does not mean the absence of emotion. It means controlling the response. It means not questioning Allah. It means not uttering words of despair. You can cry, you can grieve, you can feel broken. But in all of that, your heart remains connected to Allah. Your faith remains unshaken. Your trust remains whole. That is true patience. And it is rewarded so greatly because it is so difficult. Because it is not natural. It is a choice. A choice made out of love for the one who gave you life. Speaking about, and do not underestimate the power of what you are doing when you are being patient. Speaking about every moment you hold your tongue when you want to complain. Every time you keep praying even when you don't see results. Every time you stop yourself from falling into despair. All of that is written. All of that is counted. Not a second of your patience goes unnoticed by Allah. Not a single breath you take in pain is ignored. He knows your capacity, speaking about. He knows your sincerity. And He is closer to you now than you have ever been to anyone. Sometimes the greatest relief you get is not when the problem is solved, but when your heart finally finds peace, even though the problem still exists. That is the result of patience. That is the gift of faith. When the heart knows that no matter what happens, Allah's plan is better. That His mercy will not leave you. Speaking about that His wisdom surpasses your understanding. That even if this storm lasts a little longer, it is only because something greater is being written for you. And remember that patience is not just about enduring trials. It is about waiting for good things without rushing. It is about trusting Allah's timing even in moments of hope. When you make dua for something and it doesn't come, you remain patient because you know Allah heard you. You know He is preparing it for the right moment. You know that your Lord never forgets. So you continue to ask, continue to wait, and continue to trust. That is the patience of the hopeful. The patience of the believer who knows that Allah never withholds except to give better. There are people whose entire lives are stories of patience. People who spent years waiting for a child, years waiting for healing, years waiting for justice. And through it all, they became closer to Allah than they ever imagined. That is because their patience was rooted in the belief that relief comes from Allah, not from the passing of time, not from worldly solutions, but from the one who has always been in control, speaking about and who loves his servants more than they can ever love themselves. There is something powerful that every believer has been gifted with, something that transcends time, space, status, and circumstance. We should be speaking about. It is a force so mighty that it can shift destinies, turn hardship into ease, bring light into the darkest nights, and even change what was once written. That power is dua, supplication. The call of the heart to the Lord of the heavens and the earth. The most intimate form of worship, the most sincere expression of faith, and the most beautiful act of humility. When you raise your hands in dua, you are not just speaking words. You are placing your trust in the one who holds every storm, every calm, every outcome in his divine control. Often when life gets difficult and the storm rages around us, we feel helpless. We look at our situation and feel overwhelmed, speaking about. But what we fail to realize is that the very storm that frightens us can be shifted by a single dua made with sincerity. We should be speaking about. It doesn't need to be eloquent. It doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be genuine. Because dua is not about the beauty of the words. It is about the state of the heart. A whisper in the darkness. A tear that falls without words. A breath that says, Ya Allah, when no one else is listening, speaking about. These are the calls that reach the heavens, that are heard by the most merciful, and that can change the direction of the storm. Allah loves it when his servants call upon him. He invites us in the Quran again and again, call upon me. I will respond to you. This is not a maybe. This is a guarantee, a promise from the Lord of all worlds, a reassurance to every soul that feels lost, broken, afraid. Allah is closer to you than your own thoughts, and he is never too far to hear your call. The question is not whether he will respond, but whether we will call, whether we will have the certainty that our dua is heard even if the answer is delayed. Speaking about whether we'll believe in the power of do the way the prophets did, the way the righteous did, the way we are meant to. When you look at the lives of the prophets, you see that dua was their anchor in every storm. Yunus Ablo, Ugba'ov, trapped in the belly of the whale, surrounded by darkness upon darkness, what did he do? He called out to his Lord. He did not give up, speaking about. He did not despair. He acknowledged his weakness and Allah's perfection, and that simple dua. There is no God but you. Indeed, I was of the wrong doors, became the key to his freedom. It turned the tide of his test. It shifted the course of his storm. Why he'd be speaking about? Because he knew that even in that isolated place where no human ear could hear him, his Creator was listening. How many of us lose that belief when the storm seems endless? How many times do we stop making dua because we think it's not working? But the truth is, every dua you've ever made has already reached Allah. It has already been recorded. And it has already been answered, either by giving you what you ask for, protecting you from something harmful, or saving something better for you in the hereafter. Not a single sincere dua is wasted, not one. Even if you don't see the answer now, know that it's on its way, or that it already came in a form you didn't recognize. Sometimes Allah delays the response, not to punish you, but to teach you, to bring you closer to Him, to keep your heart connected. Sometimes your dua is the very reason your soul stays awake. Sometimes It is the storm itself that brings you to a level of sincerity in dua that you never reached before. And Allah loves that state. He loves the broken heart that turns to Him. He loves the trembling voice that calls out His name. Be speaking about. He loves the tearful eyes that look up in complete dependence. Because that is when you are nearest to Him. That is when you are no longer distracted by the dunya. That is when your soul is exactly where it needs to be. And remember, you are calling upon the one who has no limits. You are asking the King of Kings. You are speaking to the one who parted the sea we should be speaking about, who cooled the fire for Ibrahim www, who restored Yaqub's HWWW of sight. We should be speaking about who saved Musa www from Pharaoh, who brought Isaac W back to life, and who continues to perform miracles every day for those who believe. No request is too big for Him. No problem is too complicated. No storm is too wild. He can fix in a moment what you've been struggling with for years. And all He asks from you is to call upon Him with full certainty in His response. One of the names of Allah is Al-Mujib, the one who responds. And He doesn't just respond when you are perfect. Speaking about, He doesn't wait for you to be free of sin. He responds to the sinner who calls with a sincere heart. Be speaking about. He responds to the one who hasn't prayed in months but cries out from a place of regret. He responds to the one who feels ashamed yet hopeful. Because Allah's door is never closed. His mercy is never withheld. He listens not because we are worthy, but because He is merciful. So do not ever think that your past disqualifies you from being heard. He's speaking about the doors of dua are open to every heart that turns sincerely to its Lord. A dua is also a sign of your belief that only Allah can change your condition. That no matter what resources you have speaking about, no matter who is helping you, no matter what plans you've made, none of it matters unless Allah wills it to succeed. Dida puts everything back in perspective. It reminds you that Allah is the true source of strength, guidance, healing, sustenance, and peace about. It humbles you while also lifting you. It brings you down in sajud, but it raises your status in the heavens. It breaks your ego, but it repairs your heart. That is the paradox of da. It empties you of pride while filling you with hope. That be speaking about, there will be times when you'll be making due for the same thing for months, maybe years, speaking about. And you might wonder if your voice is being heard, but never forget, every dua is a deposit in your account with Allah. It is accumulating. It is being stored. And the day it is withdrawn, the day it is answered will be the perfect moment. Not a moment too early, not a moment too late. And when that moment comes, you will realize why it took time. You will understand that Allah was never ignoring you. He was preparing you, preparing the circumstances, preparing the blessings, preparing your heart to receive it fully. In the meantime, never stop calling out to Him. Make dua in your sujood, I'll be speaking about. Make dua in your tears. Make dua in your quiet moments. Make dua when you're alone and when you're among people. Keep that connection alive. Make dua for the small things and the big things, for the worldly matters and the matters of the akhirah out, for the people you love and even for those who hurt you. Because dua isn't just a request. It's a lifeline. It's your direct access to the Most High. It's the rope you hold onto when everything else slips away. And sometimes, even when the storm doesn't end immediately, dua gives you strength to face it. It gives you patience to endure it. It gives you light to see through it. Because the moment you speak to Allah, your heart feels heard. And in being heard, there is healing speaking about. In being heard, there is hope. In being heard, there is comfort that no human being can offer you. That is the beauty of our faith. That no matter how difficult life becomes, we are never alone. As long as we can raise our hands, as long as we can whisper, Ya Allah, we are connected to the most powerful force in existence. And that connection, when we speaking about, when nurtured with faith, certainty, and love, has the power to change the direction of any storm that we should be speaking about. When you look back at everything you've faced, every trial that shook you, every night that broke you, speaking about, every moment that made you feel like you couldn't go on, yet here you are still breathing, still standing, still seeking your Lord. You begin to realize something very profound, that storms were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to transform you. They were designed to awaken your heart, cleanse your soul, strengthen your faith, and bring you back to the one who was always in control. We're speaking about. The pain wasn't the end, it was the bridge. The hardship wasn't punishment, it was purification. And the delay wasn't denial, it was divine preparation for what your heart was not ready for yet. You see, when the winds of life howl and the rain doesn't stop pouring, when people leave and doors shut and your heart is heavy with uncertainty, speaking about, that is when you're being called not just to patience but to elevation. You are being taught to trust not what you see, speaking about what you believe, to rely not on your own strength but on the strength of the one who never tires. Because he is in control, not only when you see ease, not only when things go your way, but always, in every turn, speaking about, in every delay, in every silence. And when you internalize that a peace descends on your heart that no storm can remove, you learn that patience is not weakness but power. That dua is not just words but a weapon. That your faith is not tested to break you but to raise you. That every tear has a purpose. That every delay has a wisdom. And that every trial has an expiry date written by the most merciful before it even began. The hardship with a key hidden within it, a key to a door you never imagined. The storm came with mercy in its winds. The weight came with gifts you cannot yet see. And the pain came with a lesson more valuable than gold. So don't let the storm fool you into thinking that you are forgotten. Don't let the silence make you feel alone, speaking about. And don't let the chaos make you believe things are out of control. Because the one who parted the sea for Musa, who saved Yusuf from the well, who cured Ayub from his illness, who answered the due of Zachariah after years of waiting, speaking about, who brought the Prophet in through loss, pain, and grief to a state of peace and victory. He is the same one who is with you right now, watching, listening, gliding, healing. And when he decides, nothing can stop your relief, nothing can delay your breakthrough, nothing can hold back your light, because storms do not last forever. And Allah has always been and will always be in complete control.